Hi everyone, good afternoon. Can you hear
Hello,
my
good
voice?
afternoon. Yeah, it's clear.
Oh, hi, Agus. Are we still waiting for some more participants, Iqbal?
We can 1 or 2 minutes and then can start this session.
Right. All right, so let me introduce you all to our Relo Fellow, Gina and Tom today. And thank you so much for their time and willingness to do this. So they will be doing a breakout room, and we have just assigned certain participants to be in one and the other breakout room. So don't worry about that. And before we start, I would like to introduce myself. I think some of you already know me. I see a few of my advisees here, and it's so good to be back to Education USA. So my name is Santika, for those of you who are new here. I'm one of the Education USA advisor for Indonesia. And I also was in America. If you have that question in your mind, if you're my advisees in the past. And now I'm currently virtual based, but I also partially in the US Embassy in my America, Jakarta, with Mas Iqbal right here. He is also my fellow advisor in Education USA Indonesia. So before we start, I think because we have fair amount of new advisees, new perspective advisees here, I would like to share the Education USA introduction slides so that you know what Education USA is and how you can reach out to us in the future. Okay, and I'll be sharing my screen. Let me know if it doesn't work somehow. Can you see the screen, everyone?
Yes, we can see it.
All right. So this is the introduction and the general information that I usually present. Education USA is the U.S. Department of State network of over 400 international student advising center in more than 170 countries. Gampangnya adalah Education USA ini adalah Menteri Luar Negerinya Amerika Serikat, dan isinya adalah 400 advising centers di 170 negara lainnya. Jadi 400 ini cuman minimalnya ya. Jadi 170 negara itu juga it's like 170 plus and then 400 plus too. So that's like the at least amount that we have, the least amount that we have. And Education USA promote U.S. higher education to students around the world by offering the accurate, comprehensive, and current information to study in the United States, right? So this means mau S1, S2, atau S3 itu nggak ada masalah. Kita membantu semua orang Indonesia karena ini Education USA Indonesia. Semua murid Indonesia yang mau sekolah ke Amerika, mau itu S1, S2, atau S3. Okay? And this is the 5 steps that we can give to you, or this is like our service. Dan yang paling penting itu di step 3, complete your application. And that is what we are doing today on the essay part, right? Because essay is part of the requirements. Gitu. And I'll start briefly touching all of the steps. So the first step is research your options. This means you need to know what kind of program you want, and then the level of study. You need to have those things in order for you to come to us and to discuss, right? Because we cannot tell you which program to take and which school to apply to. We want you to have a clue of what you want to do in the first place, and that's how we can start helping you. Step 2 is finance your studies. So if you are looking for scholarship, if you want to discuss your options like LPDP, Fulbright, and if there's any opportunities from the university and so on and so forth, then we can discuss on that and strategize better. Terus step 3 itu yang tadi aku bilang paling penting, ini complete your application-nya US University application ya. And we are specific to US universities only because this is Education USA. Requirement-nya kalau kalian udah tahu ada transkrip, essay-nya bisa 1, bisa lebih dari 1. Letter of recommendation biasanya minimal 2, TOEFL IBT or IELTS or any other English proficiency test. also CV or resume, and if I am not mistaken, GRE or GMAT, depending on your program. Oke, jadi kita hari ini ngebahas essay review, and if you have been to Education USA before, you know advisors also do one-on-one essay review, and that I will let you know how you can book a session for that later. Okay, so aside from this kind of event that we make and collaborate with the Relo Fellow, we also have our own advising one-on-one for the CV review and essay review. And if you just need a general discussion or question and answer, then we have that too. Okay, so step 4 is apply for your student visa. This is when you got accepted to any US universities, then you can apply for your student visa. But we are here to give you the step-by-step if you're like confused or you're just very anxious about it. Banyak orang Indonesia yang mikirnya dapetin visa untuk ke United States itu susah sekali, tapi sebenarnya nggak terlalu susah, nggak sesusah yang kalian bayangkan, dan acceptance rate-nya itu tinggi sekali, 95% ke atas acceptance rate untuk student visanya. Jadi jangan terlalu khawatir, kita kasih step by step-nya, and you are the one who needs to go to the interview and everything, so everything will be fine, okay? Last one, prepare for your departure. This is the last step that we usually give as in the annual event called pre-departure orientation. Jadi tiap tahun kita host pre-departure orientation buat semua orang yang mau berangkat ke Amerika di tahun itu. But all of our events are free of charge and also open to the public, so you're more than welcome to join even if you haven't got letter of acceptance anyway. All right, so that's that. I hope that gives you a brief outlook on what we can do, and all of the services here are free of charge and kind of unlimited, but advisors would love to see you to make progress in case you coming back to us. All right, so these are the number of centers and advisors that we have in Indonesia. Di Jakarta ada di US Embassy dengan Mas Iqbal, dan virtual ada sama aku, Santika. Di Amerika Jakarta, di Pacific Place Mall ada sama Caroline, sama May. Di Surabaya, we are in Universitas Airlangga Unair with Mbak Amber. In Malang, we are in Universitas Muhammadiyah with Mas Zaki. In Makassar, we are in Universitas Fajar with Cendani, but the center is currently temporarily inactive. So, last but not least, we are also in Banda Aceh in Universitas Islam Negeri UIN Araniri with Kak Lilis. All right, so you can find all advisors if you scan through this QR code, and I've pointed out in the map where we are located. You can choose the closest center to you, but you can also just choose me because I'm virtual, so I'm basically trying to cover, more than just Jakarta. So you can scan that and then find the advisor's name, but I recommend you to stick with one advisor, especially after you started doing this specific discussion and also essay review or CV review. Karena kalau kamu pindah ke advisor lain, nanti yang kemarin itu udah discuss, terus kamu harus ngulang lagi. So that's probably why, okay? So this link will redirect you to calendly.com/educationusa Indonesia. I will type that in the chat box later after I finish this. But yes, this will be very helpful, so you can do a screenshot if you want to. All right, giving you a few seconds until you finish screenshotting this, and then moving to next one. So full information and future events are available on our official website, educationusa.state.gov, and don't forget to follow our Instagram account, because that's where all of the updates, like the upcoming events, will be posted. It will be at Education USA Indonesia, and I think a lot of you also know this event because of the social media exposure. All right, so we are looking forward to help you achieve your higher education in the United States, and hope you will enjoy this event. All right, thank you so much. I'm going to stop share screen. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna introduce, is everyone here? Mas Iqbal, do you know if everyone's here? Mas Iqbal, can you hear my voice?
Or choose not here yet, but we can go ahead.
Okay, so let's just go according to our plan to divide the participants according to the breakout room. And then if there's, additional, if the other participants came in, then we can assign them to their breakout room too. All right, so I'm going to.
Wait, sorry, Santika. We're
Yeah,
gonna do
go
a
ahead.
main presentation first, then we're gonna go in breakout rooms. Is that
Oh,
okay?
go ahead.
Yeah.
Stage is
Okay.
yours, Gina and Tom.
All right, thank you. So I'm gonna start it off, and then Thomas is gonna come in and do the rest, right? Thomas.
Yeah, nice to meet all of you. Good to see your faces after reading your work and looking forward to getting to know you a little better, helping you out.
Okay.
You've
All
got
right.
a bit of a treat. You get 2 fellows today.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I have to apologize in advance for my internet. If it's a little slow, I apologize. And hopefully Thomas will take over if something happens. Okay. Okay. So this is the essay clinic for graduate studies hosted by Thomas and myself. So some objectives that we hope you learn after this session. We want you to be able to understand some strategies on how to write graduate admission essays and also how to apply these strategies to your own essays. So basically what we'll do, I'll go over a presentation. I will try to make it as short as possible. And then we will do an activity in breakout rooms. And you'll be placed with the fellow that actually read your essay. And then after that, we'll come back to the main session and we will give feedback, detailed feedback. Well, not detailed, but we focus on certain aspects in your essays to the general group because we think it's beneficial. And then we will end with a quick activity as a group. Thomas, is that everything? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
And of course, if there are questions, there's time for that after this session, time for questions in the breakout rooms. Anything you would like to know, that expertise we can share, hopefully, and guide you through this tricky process. Yeah, so we've got the main session, breakout sessions with a checklist, coming back, talking again, and then a little bit of testimonial section at the end.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm in Surabaya, and Gina is
In Jakarta.
Yeah, if that matters. Well, I don't know where you guys are, but that's where we are.
Okay, so let's get started. So I'm sure you already know this, but this is not a bad reason to review this. So let's first talk about the purpose of admission essays. So it's twofold. You want to look at it from the applicant's, which is you, point of view, but also you want to look at it from the audience point of view as well. So as an applicant, you are able to show that you know yourself, that you have determined goals and a sense of direction. You're also able to show that you understand the commitment needed and the program that you're applying to. You also can show that you feel confident in your decision through your essays. And for readers or your audience, they want to get a sense of who you are. So, you know, these days, not many programs require an interview, though some still do. So this is kind of their only chance, besides looking at your GPA and your test scores and things like that, that they really get a sense of who you are. And they also want to see that you're a good fit for the program and that you're going to succeed academically. And they are also looking to see if applicants can handle stress, that you can overcome challenges, you can even undertake the demands of a rigorous program, such as a master's or a PhD program. And also they want to see how well you write. So while they're not, judging you as if they were in an IELTS exam or in a GRE, they are still looking if you are able to express your ideas in a written form. So keep that in mind. Okay. Other points to consider when you are applying is that if you're applying to multiple universities or programs, which I think most of you are, you're going to have multiple essays because they have different tasks set out for you. While you can use some of the components, in each essay, you're going to have to rewrite and adapt accordingly. So don't think like you just write one purpose statement and that is it. You have to still look at their prompts and their questions accordingly. So that goes to each program has unique requirements, and some want applicants to respond to specific questions. Some give you tasks to do, some even give you scenarios to respond to. So it's really good to start researching early what you have to do, which I think from reading some of your essays, you've definitely done that work, which is great. Okay, so we're going to go over some components of admission essay, but also we're going to go over the process that you should be going through. So the first step is that you want to understand the tasks that they are trying to or making you do. Okay, so that's what you should do before you even write. So usually this is stated on the university's website. However, if it's not explicitly there, you might have to dig a little bit deeper, maybe contact the department, or you might have to start the application process. So sometimes it's embedded when in the internal portal when you start the application process, the specific questions. These days, especially for graduate studies in the US, you usually have to write multiple tasks. But the good thing is they give you clear instructions, which is great. And you should clearly answer all parts of the prompt or the tasks that they give you. That is what they are looking for. Okay. And most importantly, consider the word count. They give you the minimum or maximum, the format, the submission method, things like this. Okay, so I pulled some examples based on what I saw that you filled out, some of the potential schools that you're applying to. I just pulled out some questions from these schools just to give you an idea of, how different programs ask for different things and different requirements of programs. So this is from Berkeley, their MBA program. So they're asking you to address 2 questions separately, each 300 words. The first one, what makes you feel alive when you're doing it and why? And the other one is, what kind of leader do you aspire to be and why? So when you're approaching these questions, you probably want to, draw examples from either your academic experience or your professional experience, if you have work or even volunteer experience. And then they also, which I think is nice, is they give you optional essays to write. So they give you 2 options. You can, talk about your opportunities and achievements, or you can talk about anything that you weren't able to convey elsewhere in the application. So that, you can talk about your employment gaps or, gaps in academic process or anything you would really want to address here. So that's an example there. Another example comes from Colombia, and this is their environmental health science master's program. Okay, they're asking you to write a statement of purpose, no more than 500 words. So you have to address these questions. Why are you applying to this program? What are your interests? Or what interests you about the department or the degree you are applying to, specifically in terms of this program? And how do you hope to use your education from this particular program to achieve your long-term goals? So, you know, when you approach this sort of question, you have to do some research so that you can incorporate all these elements. And they're saying, I guess, if you're in a different, if you're doing health policy and management, you can write up to 1,000 words. Okay. And then this is an example from UPenn, and this is their master's in English. So you can see here, they're asking for a personal statement with all these different elements that you have to include, why you're applying, describe an area or areas that you want to study or, you know, and debate that interest you, and also address your particular interest in the program. So that should be approximately 1,000 words. So what does that mean? That means, you know, if you fall a little short, like maybe 850 probably, that would probably be okay. If you go a little over, maybe 1150, that would probably be okay too, you know, but that's kind of your target. And they're also asking you to submit a critical write-in sample. So this has to be 20 pages, double space. And you need to reflect on your writing abilities, and you need to consider most up-to-date critical thinking skills. And they want you to write a sample that match one of your field interests or concentrations. So yeah, this is kind of like probably a similar assignment that would be in your graduate studies course, or one of the courses that you take. So they want to see probably like how you're writing and researching or critically thinking at this stage. And this is not uncommon, unfortunately, for English majors, teaching majors, education majors. They tend to make you do some sort of write-in task like this. Okay, so again, in this example, you would also have to do some research about the program prior to write-in. And that's normally what you should be doing. So that leads me to talk about how you should research the audience. So the audience usually will be faculty members in the department. However, I have seen universities bring in other faculty members from other departments because they want it to be more objective. And sometimes I've seen them bring in other people from the admissions office. So it could be a range of different faculty members, but they're basically looking for someone who will finish the program and be successful in their career. And they also want to select individuals that are going to give them a good return on their investment. So while, yeah, you are investing your time and your money and go into these schools, but they're also investing in you by selecting you to attend the school. So they want to also make sure that that aligns with their goals as well. And they're also looking for someone who will enrich the experience of their peers and their professors and contribute to the program. So this usually means, I would say, probably contribute within the class or contribute to their research objectives. But, you know, when you get into your master or doctoral classes, you know, especially in the US context, it's not really, I would say, lecture based. You're not going to just be passively listening to professors talk. They usually at this level, they want their classes to be interactive, engaging. They encourage a lot of participation and discussions within the class. So that's what they're looking for. And you should also research the specific department, courses required for your degree, you know, the faculty members that teach these courses, their research interests. So like maybe recent publications, CV, if it's posted, sometimes it is posted online. I saw a few articles that I read that you guys submitted did actually do this homework. So that is great to see because, you know, that is needed sometime. Even if they don't specifically ask, it's actually still good to do. And you usually need to express, you know, interest with a specific professor sometimes, especially at the doctoral level, or research areas that the program or faculty members are engaged in. So this is really important to research this as best as you can, your audience. Okay. So moving on. So then after you know, kind of do some preliminary research, you understand the task, you should go through some sort of brainstorming stage. This brainstorming stage is not something that will take an hour or two. It probably would take several hours over several days, weeks, maybe even months. You might even go back to your brainstorming stage after you write a draft, and that's totally okay. That's the purpose of, you know, that's how writing is. It's very messy. It's not linear. So in the beginning, if you haven't thought of these things already, I know a lot of you already submitted your drafts, but you should think about these traits that you demonstrate. So like your seriousness of application purpose, academic ability, your intellectual curiosity, intellectual flexibility, critical thinking skills, you know, your initiative, your independence, your diligence or persistence, resilience and creativity, humility and generosity. These are all characteristics or traits of master and doctoral students. So, you know, they're looking for candidates to have these sort of traits. So, you know, if you just kind of go through this list and try to brainstorm, like, you know, examples of this, do you have it? Do you not? You know, spend some time on that. I think this would be a really good start. Then you want to think about basic questions. These basic questions, I think at this stage, you've probably already thought about them, and you should be able to answer them pretty well at this stage, I would say, if you've gotten this far in the process. So, you know, what made you interested in the program? What academic or professional experiences can you include in your essay? How have your interests become more focused over time? And what research projects have you pursued or do you want to pursue in the future? So that's the basic, but sometimes this is not enough. So you might need to think about more specific questions to really dig out these examples to possibly include in your essays at some point. Okay, so I'm not going to go, actually there's like 3 slides of questions like this. I'm not going to go over each one. I'm just going to highlight some of them. We will give you a copy of this presentation so you can refer back to them in the future. So, you know, but let me just generally go over them. You know, you want to think about, you know, how you're special, unique, or distinctive, or impressive, of something about your life story that is related to that. You also want to think about, how have problems or your history or events, how have that, shaped you as a person or influenced your goals? Especially helped you, that will set you apart from other applicants. You also want to think about when you became interested in this field, and what have you learned about it so far? And you want to think about what are the most compelling reasons you can give to the admissions committee to be interested in you. So you want to think of your best traits, the best you got. You also want to consider, the classes that you've attended, the read-ins you've done, the seminars you attended, work experience, the conversations with people you've had within the field. Also think about, what have you learned about, leadership or managerial skills, for example, from your college years. This is really important. Or how has that work contributed to your growth? What are your career goals? You also want to think about any gaps or discrepancies that you have in your academic record. So sometimes it's not uncommon for someone to have quite a strong GPA, but a low GRE score. So think about that. Reflect why it's like that. It could be the GRE is very difficult. It's a standardized test, and you're not good under time tests. So just think about these sort of things. Also, you want to think about how you overcame like unusual hardships or challenges in your life. And this could be related to economic, familial, physical, academic. Also think about, personal characteristics that you have, especially, how that would improve your prospects for success in the field or the profession that you're going into. Also think about, your skills. And when you're thinking about your skills, you want to like keep it kind of on a professional line, like, and think about leadership, communicative, analytical, write-in skills, things like this. And yeah, basically you want to think about how you might be a stronger candidate for the graduate school compared to others that are applying. So as I said, I know this is a long, exhaustive list, but if you really sat for, a couple days, couple weeks, and really, kind of just made notes about these questions or topics, I think it would be really beneficial for you. And you can come up with a lot of good detailed examples that you can possibly include. And obviously, you're not going to include all of these things in your personal statements, but this will kind of you're basically just trying to generate ideas, and you're not thinking about write-in at this point. You're just thinking about ideas, examples that you can come up with. Okay, so then you go to the stage of write-in. So all the personal statements that you probably have to write will cover these basic questions. What do you want to study? What questions within your field do you want to ask and answer? What experience do you have in this field? Why is this program a good fit for you? And what do you plan to do with your degree after you graduate? If you compare these to some of the examples that you've already read, I'm sure some of these elements you've seen it, but it's rewritten in a different way in the prompt. But essentially they're asking you these basic things. Okay, so when you start to write, you can take generally two approaches to write in. these sort of essays. And I'm sure there's other approaches, but these are like the most common approach. You can take a chronological structure where you think about, your work experience or your undergraduate studies and how that has evolved over the years. You can think about your academic development through the years. You can think about your research experience that inspired you through the years as well. Or you can take an argument structure. So this is kind of typical to an academic essay that you would write in school or university. And, you basically have paragraphs that support a thesis. Some examples would be like, why are you coming back to school if you took a big gap? Or why do you want a master's degree or a doctoral degree? Could be your argument within that essay. And also, essays need to be structured, just like anything else that we do most of the time. Whether you're doing a presentation, writing some sort of email, we always have a structure, and that's your intro, body, and conclusion. This is very essential. And, when I was reading the essays, I noticed that a lot of them lacked this sort of coherent structure of an intro, body, and a conclusion. So you really want to focus on that. So, in your introduction, these are some ideas. I'm not saying every introduction will be like this, but you want to try to capture the reader's interest in some sort of way, not just saying in the first sentence, even just in the first couple of sentences, you want to do this. Then you also want to probably introduce yourself in some sort of way, like by talking about your academic background, your work experience, your research or academic interests. And then you should probably have some sort of thesis statement or claim that answers the question that you're given. Then you can go into your body, and your body, you have a lot of, I guess, like, you can do it however you really want, whatever you want to include. You have a lot of flexibility here. But these are just some ideas. You can discuss your experience. You can reflect your knowledge of the program that you're applying to, and explain how this program will advance your goals, meet your needs. You can indicate what you'll be able to contribute to the program or how you'll be able to contribute. You can focus on your strengths and your accomplishments, your shortcomings, and how you overcame them. That's very important. It's okay to talk about your shortcomings, but the big thing is, how did you overcome them? And obviously your body wouldn't include all these elements, but these are just some elements that you can use. And then your conclusion should restate, your thesis or your claim, and reiterate like the main points that you discussed. And then probably explain the career and future plans beyond graduate school. Okay, so that's like just the structure. But at the end of the day, you just want to make sure you have a clear intro, a clear body, and a clear conclusion when you're writing these essays. Okay, so after you kind of structure, maybe you write your first draft, which is what you've done, you want to start to look at the language and the paragraphs that you wrote. You have to make sure that the paragraphs are, coherent. Paragraphs usually would focus on a specific quality or characteristic and give some solid examples. Or you probably will describe an event that you attended or did, or event that happened in your life, and give some examples and, explain why this event was significant in terms of what you learned. Those are some approaches. So you need to make sure that your paragraphs, have a clear topic sentence, and then clear supporting details. And I'm sure you've heard this a million times if you've taken any English courses. And then you want to consider the language that you're using in terms of verbs. These are some verbs you can use to describe experiences. You should always, if you're not doing this already, you should always be using a thesaurus. And you should also think about the tone and formality. So yeah, while you're writing about yourself, and this is not an academic journal or essay or assignment in your program, it still needs to have some sort of more formal or professional tone. So we are going to go over some sort of aspects of this. But you want to consider this, the tone that you're given. And you want to avoid like unnecessary jargon, and try to write as clear, concise, and engaging as possible. And really, the words count that they give you, you really want to make the best of it. So you don't want to have like, things that are examples that are not really adding to your thesis in there or that impactful. So you really want to make it very clear, concise, and polished, I would say. Okay, so one way to add, or consider what you add to your content is to give concrete examples. So you don't want to give general examples. You want to make them specific as possible. So, you want to describe specific goals, expectations, instead of writing generally. You want to describe your experiences that inspired you to continue in your fields with detail. And also describe, your achievements, your challenges with detailed as well. Yeah, try to be specific, not too general. Okay, so that leads us to our final thoughts. Start writing early, which I think a lot of you've done, so that's great. Watch those admission deadlines. Also, plan to rewrite. You will probably have several drafts before you have a finalized essay. So definitely make good use of your advisors, your professors, sessions like this, which is great. And also proofread. You want to reread as many times as you can, edit, use programs like Grammarly if that helps you. Get feedback before you submit, because you don't want to have those like misspelled words, typos, careless mistakes, like fragment sentences, run-on sentences, things like this. Because something like this could cause elimination from the applicant pool, because it shows that you're not paying attention to details or you're not detail oriented, which you kind of have to be, I think, in graduate studies. You also want to make sure the essay is cohesive and coherent. And that goes back to your structure. Are all your examples, ideas connecting and flowing? Do all your paragraphs flow from one to the other? Do you have a solid intro, a solid body, a solid conclusion that's all connected? This is very, very important. Next, you want to make sure you do detail what you plan to study and research and why. You don't really want to write about the university in general. Like most of the schools that I saw that you guys are applying to are great schools, and all these people know that. They know these are great schools. So you don't want to, add any details like that, but you want to really like think about the program, the faculty that you're applying to. Apply to programs that fit your interests, obviously, your background, but also your academic ability. So, have those safety schools just in case. Don't write about your extracurricular activities unless it is really relevant to your area study. So say if you're the captain of a football team, that's great. So how does that relate to your fields, your professional fields in the future, or your academic studies? Like maybe you would talk about your teamwork skills or your leadership skills. You want to always choose simplicity over and comprehensibility over fanciness, which I think I saw this a lot, that you were writing, not simplistically, but you were, writing, you weren't really using that much jargon, which is great. So you're not really trying to impress anyone at this stage in the sense of, your research, I would say. You have time for that in your graduate studies to impress with your assignments and things like that. So at this stage, you really just want to be clear, concise, and engaging. Avoid revealing too much personal information or controversial issues. This especially is important when you're applying in the US. In the US, we have a lot of like equal opportunity. We try to not be biased in any way. So some controversial issues could be like, writing about religion or politics or these sort of issues. And if you're inclined to write about these, think of like, is it really that relevant to the task that you're being asked to do, or can you come up with a better example, perhaps? Also, don't use unnecessary punctuation. So I saw, I think, 1 or 2 examples of, ellipses like ... You don't want to have exclamation points and this sort of write-in. And, try to avoid these like sort of metaphors or cliches or contractions, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But, like a cliche is like, I want to be a doctor because I like to help people. Yeah, of course. That's kind of a given. That's a little like a cliche. So maybe you can give specific examples instead of giving a cliche like that. Okay, so that leads us to our questions. Thank you. I hope I still have your attention. So I could field questions. I think Thomas can field the questions as well.
Yeah, thank you, Gina. A lot of great content for giving us all of that information from your years of expertise as a writing teacher, examiner, and a writer yourself. And of course, I echo pretty much all the sentiments that you shared in my experiences in the same. Fun fact, we're both from the same school, the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. We didn't realize that, but somehow we were both put here in this same place in Indonesia, and which is actually, if not the leader, one of the top producers of Fulbright candidates. So, what do you want to know from us?
May I? Okay, probably like I saw your in what is it, in judging the essay, it's full of subjectivity, right? Like how deep is the subjectivity? Like is it like, for example, I would like to apply it at UPenn, so I must meet the specific um what is it, requirements. If not, then I can't get into the UPenn, for example, like that. What I need you to tell me about the subjectivity. Thank you.
So what do you mean the other specifications beyond the application essay?
Yes, for example, like I have written my best, like my achievement or something like that, but it's not enough for the university that I want to apply for.
Do you mean related to your write-in, or do you mean related to like GRE scores or something like this?
For the writing, just for the writing, for the essay, just for the essay.
Gina, Tom, thank you so much for the presentation. I will jump in a little bit on this
Mhm.
because I think it's um it's something that I've seen a lot in my advices. So I think Agus here meant if he wrote an essay and then he applied, right? He wrote his best essay, he applied to UPenn. And then there's this subjectivity that you've explained, right? Because everything is very subjective when it comes to the committee who read it. So then if say Agus did not get accepted because of the essay, because of the subjectivity, then what we can do to prevent that to happen? So in this case, like how do we avoid, like getting rejected just by the subjectivity? Like how do we ensure writing something that's, you know, good for most people who will read it in that case? I hope that helps translating.
I mean, well, I think you have a lot of time to make this amazing essay. But I can tell you probably you are not getting rejected based on an essay. So they, admission committees, they take a holistic approach. So they look at your GPA, they look at your GRE scores if they're required, they look at your IELTS scores, they look at all these things in a holistic approach. They look at your CV. So it's not, it's not really, it would never, I would say you would be rejected for your essay, because they take this holistic approach. I would say probably, if anything, it would probably be based on one of these other merit-based criteria like that they have, like usually like a GPA or your GRE score or something like that. That's my experience, but I've seen. I don't know about Thomas. Do you want to speak on that?
I'm still thank you very much, Santika, for clarifying the question. So is it related to things that might get you removed from the applicant pool? Can you maybe go back to that slide, Gina? Is that what you were talking about, Mohammed? And I, I suppose, yeah, there is some risk involved, right? Maybe you really have this great story that you want to say, you want to talk about being a leader, but part of being a leader is, in the church. And so that, might, well, that was a proofreading being eliminated. So that's not subjectivity. But, you don't want to overdo it with you don't want to tell the examiner, God bless you, or, putting a prayer in your essay. But if it is possible that it could be looked at unfavorably, um, for if it was too much. But if you're kind of using it to say, I'm in this church group and I gain these leadership skills in there, or my motivations to be a good teacher come from the desire to serve as a mission in my faith. There is some risk to that, but I guess there's kind of a balance or a time and place to use that. But certain ways you could overdo it. Is that kind of what you were talking about?
Yes, more or less it's like that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks, Gina and Tom. I completely agree with your answer. And in this case, based on my experience of proofreading essays too, is that sometimes the writer or advisees could be really strong on like one thing, but then they forget that other people might have different opinions. So I think that's what Tom was saying. Like, you don't want to go to the extreme level, like when you're talking about certain things, even though you are an expert, there's some subjectivity in it. Like, you could see that, but other people sometimes couldn't. And especially in things that are like religion, opinion, and if it's not factual, that's why I usually check if you write something specific. I would see that if you have some proof on it, like, is it based on a research? Is it based on an article? Where did you quote that? Like, you don't want to come all the way like, this is my opinion and very strongly about it. And that makes the subjectivity really heavy right there. And completely agree with Gina that the US admission is holistic. This is what we also advocate. So like I said in the introduction, we have a lot of requirements to fulfill to apply to just one US university, right? So if they ask for so many things, they are not going to just look at one thing and decide to accept you or to reject you. In this case, yes, they don't only look at your essay and then decide to reject you if that's the case. So you want to think of this whole thing as a holistic, like Gina said. Sometimes based on my advisee's experience, who reapplied to the same program, to the same school 3 times or 2 times until he got accepted, he asked for specific feedback. And that's usually if the person that you're in touch with from the university wanted to do that, then they will be able to help you with the feedback why you got rejected, or some input on what you can improve on that will help you for your next reapplication. But essentially he was rejected because he don't have enough research experience outside of Indonesia. So that's really specific, right? It's not about his essay. He's great. He had tons of experience, years of experience, expert, but he don't have that collaboration between different, like in the diversity setting, because that was important apparently for the program and for the PhD program itself. So that's why. All right, so I hope that helps. And Gina, Tom, do you want to open up another question, or you want to go to the breakout room? I will leave you guys to decide that, and Iqbal and me will help to arrange that.
Any other questions before we can move on to the activity?
And we can come back to the main room to do another Q&A if there's still some Q&A left, still some questions left after the review session with each Gina and Tom, and any questions about Education USA. If you guys have questions for me and for Iqbal, then we can do that too at the end of the session. We still have 1 hour, so should we leave like 10 minutes at the end to gather in the main room for the questions and answers, if any, and also the closing? Will that do?
I think actually we can just, I think breakout rooms, Thomas, for like 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes is good. What do you think?
Oh,
Yeah. 15,
And then
20
we're
minutes
gonna-
breakout rooms, and then kind of, talk about
Because we're going to
what
share the feedback. We're
happened
going to
in the
share the
breakout room.
feedback.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we're going to
Right.
share the feedback of their essays to everyone.
okay. So that will be about 20 minutes in the breakout room. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. But if you guys need more time, let me know and let Iqbal know, and we can just extend that room and everything. But I think once you are in the breakout room, you have the freedom to actually leave or stay. So yeah, that will help too. And we don't have the full participants coming in, but we have about 4 participants for each Gina and Tom. So that's nice. It's almost equal. And I realized one of you have submitted 2 essays. So maybe choosing one will help. And if you want to do the second, or like if Tom or Gina have the input for both of your essay, then that's great. But if not, then that's fine. All right, shall we do the breakout room now?
If I could give a quick instructional,
Okay,
that might
sure.
give a little guidance. So yeah, can we see? Maybe I'll do share again. So yeah, this checklist is what we're going to be working on in the breakout rooms, and we'll guide you through it and have you kind of take another look at your essays and kind of think about if you've completed all of these questions, if you've done these things, or if there's areas you might need to work on. And of course, if questions emerge through this process, we're happy to help you with it. And so, yeah, the content is going to look pretty similar to what you've already just learned, but now kind of think about using it in a sense. So it's broken into content, structure, and language. And did you proofread? Okay, yes or no? So this is kind of a read-only thing. Maybe you'll want to make your own copy of it, or just put in, at least think about it. And go through and mark some check boxes and think about, did you use the appropriate tone? Wait, did I? I don't know. Thomas, Gina, teacher, what is tone? Did I use the appropriate tone? Is this tone? You know, we're here to guide you. Structure, other things in here that Gina mentioned already, and other content things about answering the question, being clear, concise, and engaging, standing out, all these. You can read it yourself. I'm going to put the link in the chat, and let's go. So I guess should we open it as students choose the room manually? Oh, you guys are going to put it. Okay. Yeah, so see you soon. Or is that?
Hey, Tom. So do you
Yes.
mean to open up the breakout room?
Yeah. What if we shared the slide with the list and they could join manually with Gina or myself, who they're supposed to be with?
Right. So, okay, you want to do this slide first, right?
Yeah, the spreadsheet.
Yes.
Can we share that?
I'm looking at the EEC checklist. Is that what you meant to share?
Right. So
Okay.
we also have
I think
this.
Santika, you already did the breakout rooms, right? You already set them up?
We haven't, so the breakout room is ready whenever you
Okay,
want to
we're ready.
enter.
Yes, we're ready.
Right.
Oh, they're ready.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So yeah, and I do that based on the attendance so that we don't get ourselves confused. So I'm gonna read the breakout room for Mas Iqbal. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So the breakout room for Tom is gonna be Robertus, Hana Nabila, and Ruliawan. Okay, are you done with Tom's breakout room?
Yes.
Okay, let's move to
Okay.
Gina's. We got
Gina.
Muhammad Agus, Amelia, we got Rona and Sharon. Well, basically everyone who's here,
Amelia,
right?
Gina. Okay.
So I'll see you around 3 p.m. then here, Gina, right? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Have fun.
Rona ke
Gina.
Gina. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
We have 7 people, one with 2 essays, and the 2 essay went to Tom. So that's about like 4 essay,
Okay, got it.
each 4 essay.
Udah,
So
ini
yeah.
udah masuk semuanya ya.
Rona is still here.
Oh, Rona is not joined yet. Is moved to enggak. Rona it should
Gina.
be to Gina.
Yes.
Oke, tapi ini not join. Dia kenapa nggak join ini?
Hey Rona, are you there? Rona, are you there? Oke, udah ya.
Pergi dia.
Alright, thank you, Mas.
Oke,
So,
sip.
right. So we'll be back in the main room at 3:10,
10 something.
3:10, yeah,
Yep.
3:10, 3:15.
Okay,
Tadi dia bilang
so
20 menit,
yeah.
right? Yeah, 3.
So you wanna go to Tom or Gina breakout room, or you wanna stay here?
I think we can go there like in another like 10 to 15 minutes. If
Ya,
that
aku pengen penasaran
right.
aja sih.
Yeah.
Curious.
You can go to the breakout room if you want. I can stay here. Karena harus ada satu yang stay kan.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to.
Okay. All right. I'll be here.
Okay, I'm
Do we
gonna see.
continue the record?
Okay, so we're gonna stop recording first. Okay, let me check it.
Yep.